Well, it is now 6 p.m. and I call to order this July 12th meeting of Friendswood City Council and announce that there is a quorum present. The invocation will be led by Pastor David Bridges, Friendswood Friends Church. Good to see you, Pastor. And then we'll do the flag ceremony after that. All right, Robert.
All right, let's pray. God, we give you thanks for those who have gone before us, who have founded this community and who have served it so well. And we give thanks as well tonight for those who are serving now in roles of public service, and for those who are gathered tonight to make decisions on behalf of this community. We give you thanks. We ask that you would grant them wisdom, that you give them a sense of justice, to know what's right, and the courage to do it. And God, we pray your blessing upon them in every way, shape, and form. So tonight, whatever decisions are made, the things that go forth, we pray are the best for all in this community. And we pray in the name of Christ.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
And we have a special treat this evening. The flag presentation this evening is being presented by the Park Place Commandery 106, and they're part of the Fraternity of Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons, and Christopher L. Little, past commander, is presiding. Chris, if you would like to say a few words and introduce your team, that would be great.
Before we get to the introductions, we'll just go ahead and do the presentation. Sir Knights, color guard, present the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, we direct your attention to the flag of our beloved country. It is always stationed in the east, where it is accorded the position of highest honor. It is a constant inspiration to every lover of his country, to every true citizen. It demands unswerving loyalty and wholehearted devotion to the principles of which it is a glorious representative. It is a majestic symbol of freedom under constitutional government. Beneath its protecting folds, liberty, equality, and fraternity have become the heritage of every citizen, while the oppressed of many nations have found peace and happiness in the land over which it floats. The flags of mighty empires have come and gone, but the stars and stripes remain. Alone of all flags, it expresses the sovereignty of the people, which it endures when all else passes away. Speaking with their voice, it has the sanctity of revelation. He who lives under it and is loyal to it is loyal to truth and justice everywhere. So long as it flies, the government of the people, for the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Color guard, post the colors. Sir Knights, present swords. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sir Knights, carry swords. Please join me in the pledge to the Texas flag. Sir Knights, present swords.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Sir Knights, carry swords. To the front march. It's all informal now. About face. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the color guard for this evening, performed by Park Place Commandery. Myself, Chris Little, past commander of Park Place Commandery 106. We have on my far right, J. Don Little, past commander. Hal Smith, past commander. Dean Bryant, our generalissimo. Tom Boone, our sword bearer. Hank Hughes, past commander. And Ken Potoff, past commander. I always like to give them a hard time. Thank you. We support the Knight Templar Eye Foundation and the Knight Templar Educational Foundation. If those are all 501c3 organizations, you can get a tax break for donating to those great causes. I'm going to leave some pamphlets right out there on the bench for you if anyone is interested. Thank you very much for the council and allowing us to do this for you this evening.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Commander.
Sir Knights, forward, march. That way, Dean, that way.
Shut up. Okay. Moving on to item 4, which is council comments and reports. I'll lead off this month. We've put this item in a different location. We approved a change in our routine last month, so this was to move council comments up a little bit higher in the agenda so that we're not all tired, ready to go home by the time we get to this item. But personally, I'd just like to, again, thank our city staff, city volunteers that did such a wonderful job with the 4th of July last weekend. A few speed bumps along the way, though, and James Toney and his staff did a tremendous job, and all the volunteers, the 4th of July committee volunteers, made that those events go off just without a hitch, really. So I know people that were coming for the first time never even knew that there was a difference from what we normally do, because it was just so natural the way it all flowed and came together. So I want to again extend my thanks to all the city staff volunteers for doing such a great job. Steve?
A couple of things. Thank you. It's not too late to participate in the summer reading challenges at the Friendswood Library. People can register online to the library website, and the challenges end on August 14th. Readers of all ages have a chance to win prizes such as a Nintendo Switch or several other prizes. The other thing is that I'm on the board of the TML. We had a board meeting a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to talk about any of the items that are, the state legislator has that are in major news items, but some other things. There were 6,927 bills filed by the legislature, 1,073 passed. 2156 of the bills were filed that affected cities, and 247 of those passed. It's now a misdemeanor for those of us sitting up here to attempt to communicate with the chief appraiser to influence appraised values. There's also limits now on the disaster tax rate calculation. There was a bill that was passed to limit police defunding, but it was limited to cities with greater than 250,000 people, of which there are 11 in Texas, and we're not one of them. There was a deal there was a bill to allow people to have as many rabbits and chickens and bees as they wanted in their backyard, but apparently the bee community has a great lobby because they got it defeated. They didn't want more beehives around it now. So TML has had a change in their strategy over the last couple of years, where less of the TML organization is now testifying in the legislature, and they're asking more council members and mayors to do that. and they seem to feel that that's a better strategy. And the last thing is that the annual TML conference, which is a big conference, is going to be this year. It's in early October. They rotate cities, and this year it's in Houston. It's going to be at George Brown.
Thank you, sir. Sally?
So I'd like to echo your comments, Mayor. I thought it was a wonderful 4th of July, and I feel that I more so than anybody else can praise them because I was married to somebody who was in charge of that for 18 years. I know what a sacrifice it is. I know that it appears as smooth as silk to us out here in the community, but I know there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, so thank you. It was an awesome job. And then just one quick little note, there's a new mural going up over by the Brown Museum. It is being totally funded by our nonprofits here in our community, and actually the Masons were one of the ones who helped fund that. So I just want to say thank you to our local artist, McKenna Jem Fantone, who is a teacher in FISD, art teacher at FISD, and there will be an official unveiling of that mural on the Labor Day Ice Cream Social, on Labor Day. But you're welcome to go by anytime and check it out. It's really coming along very nicely, and I just want to thank all those who participated in that.
Trish?
Here we go. Well, first off, I would also like to commend Parks and Rec and everyone in the city that had anything to do with the parade and being so flexible with the rain and still getting things done. And it was so nice to get together in person again and have a real parade and not the ones through the neighborhoods, although I applaud their innovation and their creativity too. They're just a hardworking group of people, and I've served as a liaison to that committee before, and I know that as soon as one is over, they are back together trying to figure out how to make it even better next year. So thank you, James, Tony, and the entire staff, and Murad, all of your staff, the police, everybody who has anything to do with that. Also, I attended a BAHEP legislative update this couple weeks ago, and there are a lot of things that were passed that we need to have really explained to us in more detail. And then they were supposed to be back in session this week, and I just got a notice on the on my phone that they may not be in session tomorrow, that many of the legislators, I think, are flying tonight to Washington, D.C. to protest. So I don't know if this second session will end abruptly and then another one, and when we'll get all of the information that we need to get. I know we have a couple of bills we're still watching very carefully. And then last, I'd like to say thank you. This is my last, I'm assuming my last few minutes as Mayor Pro Tem. I've enjoyed that. It's an honor to serve this community in any capacity, really. The trust that's shown, though, is appreciated and was honored. And it's really an easy job when you have a mayor like Mike and other council members, and especially our city manager and all of the staff that take care of so many things. So thank you.
What has to be an easy job?
John did it, so it has to be. Well, thank you, Trish. I can't let that go. You are a magnificent Mayor Pro Tem for this past year. Did an amazing job. I appreciate all the Mayor Pro Tem. If you don't know, is Pro Tem means in case the other mayor gets hit by a truck in Latin. But we have a backup mayor in case. Fortunately, nothing bad has happened to me, and we hope to keep it that way. But Mayor Pro Tem attends a lot of meetings alongside me, and is very critical in a lot of the decisions that we make. And along with Murad, it's been a great help, as Sally was and John was, as the three Mayor Pro Tems that I've had since being mayor. So all great folks, and I've enjoyed each and every one of you. So we'll see how you do, Robert. But anyway, I don't mean to tip my hand, but
Yeah.
over to you, Robert. You got some comments?
Well, I'm going to reserve most of my comments, especially towards the assignments that we have as liaisons. On my P&Z comments will be later. Would like to mention that they did host a open forum, open town hall on the land use map, and based on that, most of the questions that they had were in regards to the future Friendswood Lakes Boulevard. So we're all going to be having some people talk to us about that, so that was good to hear. I'd also like to mention liaison assignment with Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District. They did approve the final drainage plan for the Avalon subdivision, and that will be going in now, and no holdups on that anymore, so that's always good. Yeah, I'll just wait until I get nominated for Mayor Pro Tem, because you don't know what could happen between now and then. And other than that, great job on the 4th of July to the Parks and Rec. Good job.
John.
I'm told there's a surprise coming, so.
Word on the street.
Well, as the liaison to Parks and Rec, or 4th of July Steering Committee, you guys, I echo what everybody else said. I know you did a great job. I would like to personally congratulate the Pacheco family. If you're unaware, Isaac Pacheco just graduated from Friendswood High School and was drafted 39th overall in the Major League Baseball draft by the Detroit Tigers. And the connection there is A.J. Hinch is the manager of the Tigers, so if he moves through the system fast enough, maybe he can play for A.J. Hinch. But congratulations to Jerry and Isaac, the whole family. I know it's a lot of hard work, and I'm very proud to have them in our community.
Brent?
It's already on. I was jogging yesterday and seeing all these police signs in our community, and it just really made me think about how privileged we are here to have such a great law enforcement and chief. And we're going to have some recognitions tonight, but just know there's so much more that goes on to make our community what it is. And thank some of these guys when you see them out there, because they really keep our community safe. And I know you hear about these crazy laws coming through, but none of that stuff will ever come through this community. We're going to protect our law enforcement the best we can. And same thing, Parks and Recs. Every year it's a different challenge and a greater accomplishment. Good job to James and Michael and the whole team and the rest of the staff. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Public communications. I guess there are some.
You think anybody noticed?
What happened?
That's the surprise. That's the surprise. I was told it's coming.
Hey. Mine's right. Thank you. We got to do it. Item 5, public communications. In order to comply with the provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act, the City Council may not deliberate any item not listed on the agenda. As such, the City Council will listen to public comment and may 1, refer the item to City Management for further action, or 2, direct staff for the placement of said item on a future agenda. During public comment, the public shall refrain from any outbursts or interjections to include but not limited to applause, disparaging noises, or remarks. Furthermore, any personnel complaints against a city employee aside from the city manager, city attorney, or municipal judge shall not be discussed, shall be referred to city management. Please note that each speaker shall give his/her name to provide a proper record of this hearing, and the rules allow each person 3 minutes to present information. The time clock will flash the yellow light when there are 30 seconds remaining, and then the red light and beeping sound with an electrical shock when the time has expired. Please wrap up your comments at that time. That actually wasn't in there, Letty, but I just...
Did we get the electrical shock?
I'm working on it.
That's for us, not
Yeah.
Of course.
That's the surprise, I guess.
David Allen.
Yeah, I was going to point out those switch signs first thing, but they can't do that now. We wouldn't want, Brent to be blamed for something that John said or vice versa. So thank you so much, though, again, for the 4th of July parade, Mr. Tony. And it's always so inspiring. I've lived here 30 years now, and it's always the most wonderful thing. And as time goes on and the United States flag is considered a bad thing to wear or a bad thing to carry in so many major cities, it's great to have a place where it's very welcomed and celebrated. Just as John Adams said, a day to be celebrated with fireworks and celebrations for the rest of history. So This is nice. It's actually got a clock readout here. This is wonderful. Many countries such as England and Australia are still locked down from this virus thing. They're going to try and do that again here this fall. It's the New World Order, you know, build back better, lock us down so they can change society kind of thing. But basically, don't go along with it as much as absolutely possible, because look what happened. You know, the big box stores got super big. Mom and pop were told they're non-essential. What the heck is that? This thing was invented by Dr. Fauci at Wuhan. The funding documents show he's spent millions of our dollars breeding it there. It's a type of pneumonia. Steve has experienced that. We've had other types of pneumonia. Which have killed plenty of people, but we haven't shut the country down. So that's all really weird. The other thing is the Declaration of Independence. You know, we used to have that Mr. McGinnis here, Pat McGinnis, I guess, who would say the whole Declaration and everything. And that was wonderful. But I will say, you know, what is it? The second paragraph, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator, not by the government, by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Governments are instituted to protect those rights, and they should be run by the consent of the governed. I mean, no other country has that as their beginning. And that's what we celebrate on the 4th of July. But just about Thomas Jefferson, when he first, you know, okay, so his dad died when he was 17, so he inherited slaves, okay. But he went on to be a lawyer, and when he got into the House of Burgesses, he was too young at 25 to introduce a bill. He had to be 30. So he got a co-sponsor, age 30, and guess what the first bill was? To end slavery in Virginia. Not just to end the slave trade, which many states had tried that. The king of all people told them, you can't end the slave trade to your state because I'm making too much money off it. But as far as within Virginia, in the House of Burgesses, he and a friend co-sponsored a bill to end slavery over 10 years. I mean, what are you going to be doing 10 years from now? You know, so of course you have time to train, you know, 1 or 2 people a year to have the skills for outside. In fact, they had the skills. Usually they were doing the stuff. And so that could have been, it would have been a wonderful thing instead of having the Civil War. So God bless Thomas Jefferson.
Thanks, Mr. Allen. Philip Radiso.
Evening, Mayor, Council. I talked to Murad earlier, or emailed him earlier today, and we have an item that he's going to speak about, but there was a presentation about veterans parking spots a couple, last meeting or two, and right after that meeting, Connie and I walked out, and talking to some other citizens, they were all for it. They would pay for one, we'll pay for one. Let's turn this into a fundraiser, a volunteer thing that let the citizens pay for it, and businesses, and not to come out of the city coffers, but we'll have the city people do it so it's done correctly and they're all done the same way. But I just wanted to say that. Murad will expand on it, I'm sure. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Mr. Radiso. Item 6, special recognition and acknowledgments. Present the City of Friendswood 5-Star Spirit Awards for 2020 and the first quarter of 2021 to Michael Cordero, CID Sergeant with the Police Department, Matthew Schmidt, Peace Officer with the Police Department, and Bria Whitmire, Project Coordinator with the Engineering Department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is one of my most favorite times to be before you. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I haven't had an opportunity to do this in close to a year. So as you know, the 5-Star Spirit Award is an employee recognized employee of the quarter recognition that's determined by the employees themselves. It's not the council, it's not the city manager or department heads. We had put a hiatus on the program during COVID. Simply put, 5-Star Spirit Committee wasn't meeting due to trying to limit contact with one another, as well as a number of folks were doing extraordinary things that we felt it was too difficult to recognize any one employee for their efforts. Well, as soon as the 5-Star Spirit Committee started meeting again, we had 3 exceptional nominations that came in from the public for 3 of our employees, and the committee didn't feel it would be fair to single out a single employee, so there's 3 award recipients this evening. So if I can ask Sergeant Cordero, Officer Schmidt, and Bria Whitmire to come up here. And I will present to y'all each of the cases as in the order in which I called. Well, starting with Sergeant Cordero, who hurt himself hitting Bob earlier this morning. No. We had received a compliment from a police agency out of Louisiana. We had one of our elderly residents had been conned out of hard-earned life savings, much like the scams that y'all see regularly from time to time. This resident had issued or had gotten a cashier's check, I want to say $40,000, and had sent it in the mail to the scammer. When they were notified of the fact that it's a scam, they quickly reached out to the police agency that they were located in and contacted our police department. Sergeant Cordero took the case, tracked down the parcel, fought with the Postmaster General in Houston, and was able to retrieve the cashier's check long before it received the scammer. And thankfully, that individual's savings were retained. So thank you, Mike, for all that you do. I did not. Since I'm only a one-time recipient, I don't like to highlight folks that win it more than one time.
That's 10 stars right there.
That's 10 stars, yes. Not to be outdone, Officer Smith had also gone above and beyond the job duties in his service to our community and continues to on a daily basis. I heard a couple more stories when visiting with other council members about this award, so thank you for what you do. We had an EMS call at an elderly home here in Friendswood, and upon his arrival, he had befriended the husband of the couple that had called 911. Shortly thereafter, the wife had passed away, and Officer Smith routinely checked in on him and to see how he's doing. Even went as far as writing a Happy Father's Day card for the gentleman long afterwards when Father's Day came. Just left him a note to say that somebody's thinking of you and we appreciate all that you've done. The resident that received the card felt very heartwarmed by the situation and wrote a compliment that we received in our office. And we appreciate Officer Schmidt for going above and beyond and looking out for our citizens as you do day in and day out. And thank you for your service. And last but definitely not least, Bria Whitmire in our engineering department, one of our recent additions in the last 2 years to the great city of Friendswood, was working the Emergency Operations Center during Winter Storm Uri. After working nearly a 12-hour shift overnight, she took a call from one of our elderly residents in the I want to say Wedgwood Village subdivision, and the lady that contacted our Emergency Operations Center knew that she was having a leak in her house. She had a pipe that had burst and was trying to get somebody out there to shut the water off. As you can imagine, our Public Works Department was well behind in trying to get to all the line breaks that were occurring that night, and it would be another few hours before we were able to get to this lady's house. Bria took it upon herself on her way home after working a long shift to take care of the situation herself, and we had received a compliment in regards to her service afterwards, so thank you, Bria. If y'all would like to say a few words, you're welcome to, but you don't have to. Everybody but Sergeant Cordero.
That will go on for hours.
Well, thank you all.
Item 7, communications from committees and special reports. A, receive the annual report from the West Ranch Management District. Presenters Meredith Levine and Joe Matranga.
Joe Matranga's sitting right here. She's got it covered.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Meredith Levine. I'm one of 5 directors of the West Ranch Management District, and I'm going to try to go through my slides. Are they queued up? All right, great. As quickly as possible, which is pretty quickly. Don't worry. So I have a map here. I hope you can see the area outlined in red on the left is the West Ranch Management District. And of course, the yellow boundary is the city of Friendswood. And on the right, you have a slightly outdated map of the district, just to familiarize everyone. This is the updated map of West Ranch everything, so the residential development is fully built out, that's all in gray. And the red is the commercial area of development, none of which has been developed yet. So, and the purple is the school site down at the bottom. So
Sorry, purple was what?
the school site.
School site. Gotcha, okay.
So here I just wanted to pop up the history of our total tax rate. I started in 2015 because the tax rate was 65 cents for a few years. And then in 2016, we dropped it from 65 cents to 55 cents. In 2017, it was 50 cents. In 2018 and 2019, 45 cents. And in 2020, we took it to 43 cents. We haven't yet set the tax rate for 2021, but our expectation is hopefully that we will continue to be able to reduce the tax rate. And then this I know is hard to read, but it shows, you can kind of see the assessed value as we begin at the bottom in 2005, how the assessed value increased. And in 2020, it was 648 million and lots of change. So quite a lot of assessed value. And then we have two principal components of our tax rate. We have the maintenance and operations rate, the M&O rate on the left there, and then two subcomponent parts of the total debt rate, which are the WS&D, water, sewer, and drainage, right? and then the bond debt rate. So the total debt rate is there on the right, and those combined lead to the total tax rate. So, you know, we are continuing to look at the component parts. The important thing to remember, of course, is that the bond debt repayment rate is more or less fixed by how much we have left to repay and the terms of that, which takes me to the next slide. This is provided by David Smalling of Baird, who's our bond guy. So the district performed a large refunding of the WS&D and road bonds in 2020 that resulted in approximately $2.36 million in reduced debt service. So last year at this time, by letter, we informed the council that we intended to do that. I am able to confirm that we did do that, and we're proud of that reduced debt. And today we are also able to announce that we intend to cash redeem approximately $1.735 million in principal amount that will reduce outstanding debt service approximately $2.4 million. So that's some good news there. One of the things that we have responsibility for in the district is drainage. And so Jeff Safe of BGE Inc. has provided this somewhat, comprehensive update on our ongoing drainage maintenance efforts, which I'll briefly summarize. So in 2018, the West Ranch Management District entered into a drainage maintenance contract with Stormwater Solutions to perform quarterly inspections of all WRMD owned and operated drainage and detention facilities. As part of these inspections, Stormwater Solutions and the districts engineer, catalog, and prioritize areas to be addressed, so it's three categories, either addressed, put on the watch list, or identified as having no issues. Over the past 2 years, WRMD has spent approximately $70,000 over and above routine mowing on drainage maintenance and rehab, which includes, and is not limited to, desilting of channels, removal of vegetation and overgrowth, erosion repair, structural outfall repair, etc. I would call some of that extreme event stuff, to ensure that all drainage and detention facilities are in good working condition and function as originally designed, which we can all agree is really important. And of course, the final thing is just as a district, we understand how important all of this is to the residents of the West Ranch Management District, which is West Ranch. And we are committed to continuing our proactive monitoring and maintenance program. Okay, completed projects. Many of these are familiar to all of you. Falcon Lakes Boulevard, West Boulevard, Friendswood Lakes Boulevard, both the east and west segments, the detention ponds and conveyance systems, the traffic signal at 518, the Lake Friendswood parking lot and pavilion. And then the new part for this year is we were able to complete the gifting of the 47-acre park parcel in January of 2021 to the city. That was district property and is now City of Friendswood property. And we also completed, since the last update, the drainage improvements to both the 13-acre and 21-acre, the 13-acre at the front of the district and 21-acre commercial tracts which everyone saw. That was a big earth-moving project and a lot of other things. And then also, we completed 2 paver projects that were jointly undertaken with the West Ranch Homeowners Association that improved some common areas. And I have some photos. That's the 47-acre park parcel. These are photos of one of the 2 paver projects. They're kind of a beautification thing. And we split that funding with the HOA. And then this is a before and after picture of desilting, which I really like, because you can see how clogged up our channel area was there, and then how nice and clear it was, ready for a storm event. Next to last slide, commercial property. We have approximately 45 acres of commercial development near the intersection of FM 518 and West Boulevard, and approximately 13 acres of commercial property near the intersection of West Boulevard and Friendswood Lakes. We have water, sanitary sewer, storm sewer and detention available to the sites, and then Friendswood Development Company indicates they are still seeking a potential town center developer. Long-term goals and objectives remain the same as they always have been. As values continue to increase and commercial tax base is established, the board will continue to weigh lowering the tax rate and continue to pay off bonds. And then just as a summary, the city, as you know, the city of Friendswood maintains the water, sanitary, and storm sewers to the district. The West Ranch Community Association maintains the landscape reserves, and the district maintains detention ponds. And we will be setting the 2021 tax rate at the August meeting. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Meredith. Really appreciate you stepping up to be one of our representatives on that 5-member board. Just so folks know, it's a 5-member board. The city gets to appoint 2 of those members. So the owners, Friendswood Development, Lennar Homes, still kind of have the majority on that board. But with you and now Joe Matranga, thank you, Joe, for stepping up and doing double duty, both planning and zoning and on the West Ranch Management District. We know we'll get our voices heard there at your board meeting and continue to do the right things for the citizens out there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Now receive a presentation of the Declaration of Independence.
And real quick before you hit start, Letty, I just want to recognize Katie Blanchard for putting this video together. She did an exceptional job. And no offense to mayor and council or staff, you'll note here shortly that these stars are far better to watch than we are. So enjoy the show.
When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to have dissolved the politic bands which have connected them with another,
and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station,
to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them.
A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that we should declare the causes which impel them to separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equally,
that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness,
that to secure these rights governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed.
Any form of government becomes destructive of these ends. Is the right of the people to alter, to abolish it, and to institute new government,
laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transit causes.
And accordingly, all experiences have shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than right themselves by abolishing the forms which they were accustomed.
But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such governments and to provide new guards for their future security.
Such has been the patient sufferances of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which entrains them to alter their former systems of government.
The history of the present king of Great Britain is the history of repeated injuries and years of patience,
all having in direct object the establishment of absolute tyranny over these states.
To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
He has refused an accent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary from the published good.
He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended into their operation till his assent should be obtained.
And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them.
He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodations of large districts of people,
unless the people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature.
A right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only.
He has called together legislative bodies at the places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records,
for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures.
He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly,
or opposing with many firmness his invasions on the rights of the people.
He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected,
whereby the legislative powers incapable of annihilation have returned to the people at large for their exercise.
The state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within.
He has endeavored, abomination, the state, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their grations either, and raising the conditions of new appearance of islands.
He has obstructed administration of justice.
He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries.
He has erected the multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat their substance.
He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislators.
He has effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power.
He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretend legislation.
He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, given his assent to their acts of pretended legislation,
for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us,
or protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they shouldn't commit on the inhabitants of these states,
for cutting off all trade with all parts of the world,
for imposing taxes on us without our consent,
for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of travel by journey,
for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for repeated offenses.
Abolishing the three system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government.
Enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for including the same absolute rule into these colonies.
For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws,
and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments.
For suspending our own legislators and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever.
He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us.
He has plundered our seas and ravaged our coasts,
burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of people.
He is at the time transporting large armies of the foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny.
Already begun with the circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation.
He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country,
to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands.
He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages,
whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms.
Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury.
A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people.
Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren.
We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislator to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us.
We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here.
We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity.
And we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence.
They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity.
We must, therefore, acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation.
And hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends.
We therefore, the representative of the United States of America and General Congress assembled,
appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions,
do in the name and by authority of the good peoples of these colonies solemnly publish and declare
that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states,
that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown,
and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved,
and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce,
and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do.
And for the support of this declaration with a firm reliance of the protection of divine providence,
we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
That's awesome. What do you think? Pretty dang good. That's better than watching us do it. Yeah. Very good, very good. I saw a couple ringers in there, Glenda. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, item 8, work session, receive and discuss an update of the City of Friendswood capital improvement projects. Hildardo Arias.
I really don't know how to follow that up, but I'll give it a shot here. Good evening. I'm here to present to you tonight our latest update on our ongoing capital improvement projects. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. I wanted to first start with an update on lift station number 23. We're very close to completing this project. Our contractor is currently in the process of testing this lift station, and we are actually planning on having a soft startup tomorrow. So the bypass pumps that we've had, big orange pumps out in front that we've had running for the past couple of months are going to be turned off, and sewage allowed to flow into that new lift station. As you may recall, a second smaller lift station was installed a couple of months ago for to serve the Century Oaks subdivision. That package lift station's fully operational and has been working for the past couple of months now. When this is all said and done, lift station 23 will address some past overflow issues that we've had, and is a very integral part of the our city staff's larger mission to improve the sewer system throughout the city. Next, work is ongoing with the design development for the reconstruction of Fire Station number 2. We've passed the 50% milestone on the design development and are awaiting an update from the construction manager at risk on projected costs. This cost will help us determine if we are headed in the right direction in the design of this facility. We've been in constant contact, the city staff has been in constant contact with the Friendswood Volunteer Fire Department, and we've received some tips and pointers from an operational point of view, and we've been sure to relay that over to our architects so that they can be sure and incorporate those suggestions into the design and what they're doing with that building. Right now, our architect has gotten started with construction documents for that building. We are shooting for a presentation in December 2021 this year to receive the guaranteed maximum price from the construction manager at risk. Assuming that we do meet that target, we should see construction throughout 2022, and should see construction ramping up not only on that project, but on the public safety building sometime in the fall of next year. And speaking of the public safety building, we're a little further along on that one. We have received the 100% design development, and the construction documents are currently underway. We are waiting on a updated cost projection from the construction manager at risk, and should be getting that here very soon. And as I mentioned, that this one is also, we're looking for a guaranteed maximum price to be presented December of 2021. So I do have an update on this slide right here since the agenda was posted. It says on there that we are under review by the Harris County Community Services Department, the contract. We have gotten some feedback from them. We're going to incorporate that, and we should have a fully executed contract for the renovation side of the Blackhawk facility here pretty soon. On the non-renovation side, we are working with PJL, who's the architect on the renovation side, so that we have one common architect, and we're expecting a cost proposal from them anytime, sometime maybe tonight or tomorrow. We'll have that this week, is what they told me earlier today. So assuming everything checks out, we're going to be planning on having that cost proposal ready for council for approval and acceptance next month at next month's meeting. Friendswood Lakes Boulevard. So this is another project we've got nearing completion. Unfortunately, wet weather has not been on their side the past 2 months, and it's slowed them down enough to where they were unable to make their target date of July the 1st. But they are going to try to take advantage of the weather this week. They're very close to getting it done. At this time, we are hoping to have a ribbon cutting on the 29th of this month. And assuming weather holds up enough between now and then, we should be opening up that street by the end of the month. Last year's maintenance program. This is going to be my last update on this program. I've made several updates in the past couple of months and have brought to you updates on what we're doing to address some of the conditions to the streets that had been placed, and they were not meeting our spec. And so we did hold on to retainage, as we had mentioned a while back. And in meeting with our contractor for that contract, we mutually agreed upon some conditions that were going to have to be met in order for us to feel comfortable to release retainage. That included crack sealing, that included doing base repair in locations that weren't necessarily holding up, and also some milling and overlay. We have gotten to a spot to where we feel like if anything else comes up that is not holding up the way it should, we can address that through as a maintenance or a warranty item. So you will notice later on in the council meeting tonight, there is a $350,000 change order. This is to true up the quantities that we had on this project. There at the end of the project, something that we had happen was we're working on Clearview Avenue, and as much as the contractor tried, he wasn't going to be able to get the grades right using existing curb and gutter. And so the decision was made, in order to do this right on Clearview, we were going to have to take out all the curb and gutter, and so that was going to put us over. And so that is what that change order is for. The biggest majority of that, we were up front with the contractor. Did tell him that we understand that this needs to get done. You need to get done and complete with this work, but we are going to have to execute a change order on this, and they're really willing to work with us on that. So on top of that, I wanted to add on this project, there is another item on the agenda, and that's to initiate the one-year maintenance bond. And that is for anything that doesn't hold up within the next year. Staff, public works staff, and engineering staff, we will all keep a real close eye on the streets, and we will make sure that if anything isn't up to par, we do get it addressed by the contractor by the time we release the maintenance bond next year. So this brings me to our current ongoing street maintenance program. We've done $500,000 in concrete work this year, and we're at that dollar figure now. The work went along really nice and fast. And there is an opportunity now, especially with sales tax figures the way they're coming in, to take advantage of that and to expand upon this concrete portion. There's going to be lots of work, and we can give them a multi-million-dollar project, and we will never be caught up. But we did want to take advantage of that opportunity, and there will be a change order up for consideration later tonight to make that happen. As far as the asphalt streets are concerned, we are working on that. We're getting the contract documents together. Did want to say that the first two asphalt streets will be addressing are Coward Creek and Winsong Lane. These are two of the worst streets we have left. And if you go down Coward Creek, you'll know why. It's a really bumper road. There's been some heavy construction traffic the past couple of years going down that road. But that will be our top priority, and we'll get that taken care of this year with the next asphalt program. And I did want to update you on the status of drainage improvements at Lake Friendswood. As you may be aware, there was some development up next to the park, and it did adversely affect the existing drainage that we had going away from the park. Renee, our Public Works Director, and myself, we've been in contact with our counterparts with the City of Lake City, and they've been very helpful in working with us and working as a liaison between us and the developer of that subdivision there to come up with a solution to the drainage issues. And so what we're looking at is the developer installing over 2,200 linear feet of 36-inch pipe, along with inlets that will collect runoff, and it'll run adjacent to the sidewalk that you see in this area right here, and it will keep it from being an ongoing flooding issue like we had last year. Construction on that will start here pretty soon. We have some minor details to work out with the fencing, what we're going to do there, or rather what the developer will be doing, and then that will be kicked off. And it shouldn't take about a couple of weeks to get that done. And last but not least, I would like to give you an update on two projects that TxDOT has on FM 518. The first is the downtown curb and ramp project. Some of you were there. There was a groundbreaking ceremony on the 15th of last month. Construction was going to start as soon as rain let up, but unfortunately the contractor has run into some supply chain issues with PVC. And you might be thinking, well, why do you need PVC? Well, TxDOT is incorporating into that work the installation of conduit, underground conduit that will be used for future lighting by the Friendswood Downtown Economic Development Corporation. There's several thousand linear feet of PVC that they will have to install, and so this is a ongoing issue that contractors everywhere are facing right now. So there's a big backlog, and in the meantime, TxDOT has agreed to do a suspension of their time for a couple weeks so that they can get their PVC pipe in, and they can get that installed before they do the sidewalk. And then the other project of interest is the installation of a traffic signal at the intersection of Leisure Lane and FM 518. That should say 518 on there. I didn't see that until last night. TxDOT did have some utility conflicts, and they have now completed that. Let us know late last week that's been done. And they have advised the city that their contractor, assuming weather holds up, seems to be the big factor here lately for everybody. They should be getting started here within the next 2 to 3 weeks on the installation of a traffic signal. And that should take a couple of weeks for them to finish that up. So that concludes tonight's presentation. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thanks, Hill.
Yes,
Appreciate
ma'am.
it.
Did you have okay.
Okay, item 9, request for a zone classification change, 1715 and 1771 South Friendswood Drive. I now call to order this public hearing to receive comments, both oral and written, regarding a zone classification change located at 1715 and 1771 South Friendswood Drive, also known as Reserves D and F in the Howard Subdivision Partial Replat Number 2, Friendswood, Galveston County, Texas, to change from Community Shopping Center and Office Park District to Planned Unit Development. Aubrey Harbin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the zone change application before you tonight is for approximately 7.7054 acres. This is the vacant tract that is currently behind the Chick-fil-A, Care Now, and Valvoline property. And it does include the vacant tract as well as the detention pond for the original Howard subdivision. The current zoning of the property is both CSC, which is Community Shopping Center and Office Park District, with OPD, and the proposed zoning is a planned unit development. Actually, I got my slides here, sorry. That's the current zoning. So part of the planned unit development, it's got a few pieces to it, but their application is to limit the uses in that building. The applicant's here tonight. They can explain a little bit more about the project, but basically these are the uses that would be allowed in the 4-story building at this property. All of these uses are allowed in the CSC and Office Park District zoning, but it does limit it and not allow any more restaurants or retail in this particular building. The proposed site plan, you can see the proposed building is a new 4-story building, somewhat like the building at 505 South Friendswood Drive. So it'd be kind of an anchor for all the tenants and existing restaurants in the front of the property. It would also include detention enhancements around the detention ponds, such as trees, walking trail, park benches, dog stations, water fountains, and accent lighting. Access to this property is via shared access easements that are dedicated with the Howard subdivision subdivision plat. And the positioning of the building, they're intending to slow the traffic on their little thoroughfare that they've got going on there. The proposed regulation matrix for this particular property, this would only apply to the vacant tract, and the detention pond is still limited to detention only, and that's per the plat. They would have to replat the property to do away with detention. But the proposed setbacks are similar to CSC and OPD, with a front 30-foot yard setback, rear 15, interior side or interior are normal 25 and 10, whether they're abutting residential or commercial. And then the maximum building height is proposed to be 70 feet or 4 stories, which is similar to the other building at 505. So these are the building elevations that would be built at this location. Public hearing notices were sent out, so we did a newspaper notice, mailed owner notices to everybody within 200 feet of the subject property, and a sign was posted on the property. And then Planning and Zoning has had their public hearing and has made their recommendation. So we had our public hearing on June 10th, and the vote from the commission was 0 to 5, so it's unanimous negative recommendation. However, the commissioners were supportive of the project. They just felt that the PUD didn't meet our city ordinance requirements and due to the building height. We are, staff in the commission is in the process of adjusting or amending our zoning ordinance to allow this building height in all of our other commercial zoning districts. So it's in process. We're gonna have our public hearing July 22nd, and that ordinance should be to y'all by August 2nd. So it's like a meeting behind this particular request. But the positives of the PUD were that it does reduce the permitted uses, that the PUD would ensure that the additional amenities are built around the detention pond, which is over and above our zoning ordinance requirements, and that the proposed office building would have a much lower traffic impact than many other potential uses, and the PUD would be presented to council 1 month earlier than the commercial building height ordinance changes being proposed.
And Mayor, if you would, before you start the public hearing, I just wanted to add on the Planning and Zoning Commission, every one of them were supportive of the project. They felt that the constraints of the PUD didn't allow for the changes being requested. They felt it didn't meet the initial spirit of the PUD requirements. In visiting with Mary Kay, our city attorney, and myself on this, it is within the spirit of PUDs. They could have acted in a positive manner. They just felt that their hands were tied. And you do have two commissioners here this evening that can answer any questions you have when we take up the ordinance later.
Okay. Thanks, Aubrey.
Thank you.
Louis Tanos, I have a spot here. If you want to speak on your project, the floor is yours. You don't have to. Okay, we'll ask questions if we need. All right, everyone desiring to speak at today's hearing should have signed the appropriate list in the foyer prior to the commencement of the meeting. Each speaker shall give his/her name and address in order to provide a proper record of the hearing. The rules allow each speaker 5 minutes to present information. What am I looking at here? Okay, nobody signed up to speak. All right, thank you. There being no one desiring to speak, I now close the public hearing concerning a zone reclassification change located at 1715 and 1771 South Friendswood Drive. We now move on to item 9B. 9B, consideration and possible action regarding ordinance number T 2021-18, the first reading of an ordinance approving a zone reclassification change located at 1715 and 1771 South Friendswood Drive, also known as Reserve D and F in the Howard Subdivision Partial Replat Number 2, Friendswood, Galveston County, Texas, to change from Community Shopping Center and Office Park District to Planned Unit Development.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any more discussion, questions, concerns? Robert?
Yeah, I have some questions, and it's mainly to staff. Aubrey,
Yes.
if you would, please. The address 715 and 771, the address at 771 is the detention pond, and that is the OPD office.
Yes, sir.
Okay, OPD. All right, Aubrey, there are two options a developer can seek when applying for PUD. One is a very detailed application plan, and one is more conceptual. Which option is this did he choose?
This one would be the more detailed
detailed.
one. Detention and utilities are already provided to the property, so they won't have to go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for site plan approval again.
Okay, so they won't have to come back. This site plan is going to be a covenant running with the PUD. So whatever they put in this site plan, they're going to go by it. That's going to be their development.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the developer would like this regulation metrics for the building outside of the downtown district to be greater than 40 feet. This developer is seeking 70 feet. Have we allowed other commercial buildings outside of the downtown district to exceed 40 feet?
Yes, we do have a few.
I think there's like 4 or 5 of them.
Yes, sir.
Catholic Church, Clear Creek Community Church, Assisted Living at Thomas Trace, the Green Garden in Friendswood Lakes. I think that we're going to be having, in addition to this building, some elementary schools and possibly a junior high school that'll be exceeding the 40-foot limit because of
high
amphitheaters or something like that?
The high school.
The high school amphitheater?
Mhm.
So we're running into a situation outside the downtown district where the 70-foot matrix is not quite what we're looking at for outside the downtown district. We are in a situation where now we're finding we're going to have to go above 40 feet. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, the developer would like this PUD to mirror the permitted uses of the office park district. Yet the developer would like to restrict this development not to allow for restaurants and retail. Why would he do that? Why would he restrict himself? I mean, if this was office park district, he'd have all the permitted uses of office park district, but he's saying he's limiting himself. Why would he do that?
And we can ask the developer that question, but when we met with him, the concern was limiting the intensity that already exists there. As you know, there's a number of restaurants already in place within the shopping center, Vergata Commons. And this traffic intersection, FM 518 and 5288, is already a congested one. So they're trying to do their part to reduce that impact. There are some offsite improvements that are taking place by TxDOT that will also help the flow of traffic at that intersection. So he's trying to help out the city.
Okay, so thanks, Mo. So the general purpose of all PUD districts under number 4 would be maybe to minimize the negative impact of developments, especially related to traffic?
Correct.
And so this person is limiting himself in this PUD, okay, so that he could have not a big impact on the traffic, which we already have complaints over there. I think we heard Hill talk about the TxDOT light at Leisure Lane in 518. All right, so he's limiting himself. Every other permitted use in the office park district is included in his site plan and in his development, correct?
I think there are some OPD uses that he did not include, but all the ones that are in the PUD are allowed in OPD.
And the only restrictions is for himself and the height?
Yes.
Okay, for the height?
Mhm.
Okay, so all parking, screening, setbacks, landscapes, buffers, parking lots, all that meets everything in the OPD. Yes. Okay, let me ask you this. We have had PUDs that have come up here, and this runs into the situation under B, where in no case shall a PUD be used for the sole purpose of circumventing the intent of city ordinances. Okay, we've had developers who've come up here for a PUD, and they've wanted special rules or maybe special privileges in that they didn't want to comply with the community overlay district. They did not want to comply with parking. They did not want to apply with buffers. They didn't want the screening. Maybe they wanted brighter lights or less lights. We've had a situation. Those are the people who are coming up here and they're doing something different. They're asking for a different privilege or a special rule, so they're wanting a PUD. This developer is not asking for a special rule except for height, right? He's complying with every other permit in the usages. The only thing he's doing is height. Okay. All right. Well, I think one could argue that this development is not circumventing the intent of the city ordinances, but it's augmenting and enhancing the OPD ordinances that this would qualify without the exception of the 70-foot restriction. Is that correct? I think so. I look at the 7 items. 3 would be a stretch, but it does encourage a unified design and development of tracts of land incorporating a variety of usage. I look at us getting a brand new park, and this developer's giving us a brand spanking new park. It's going to have how many linear feet? 45 trees, linear feet, 5 to 7 feet wide. I see another one, several of them. I already mentioned 4, minimize the negative impact of development, but I see number 7 should be number 1, to promote economic development in accordance with city plans for such. I think that could be number 1. This general purpose for a PUD to provide development of sites in suitable fashion with such development restricted by such factors as site location and shape. Well, shape, we're having a problem with because he's wanting 70 feet. I think in conclusion, this PUD application has been one of the toughest decisions our commissioners at P&Z have had to deal with in a very long time. Though they have submitted a negative recommendation, not a single commissioner was or is negative on the project and the development. The commissioners are bound to the rules and regulations as written, and they are not given the flexibility to deviate from those statutory regulations as the city council might be. And I think that is the way it should be, because those of us sitting up here can be hired and fired by the residents of Friendswood when they do not like what we have supported and opposed. Just in the past couple of months, another developer submitted a PUD application, and though vastly different from the present application, since that PUD did not meet the rules as written, then it was denied by P&Z and later tabled here at this council so that they could hammer out their differences. And they're hammering out those differences as we speak. And I think we're getting pretty close on that. And they're going to be able to stay within the ordinances. The commissioners have worked tirelessly to have open, transparent, and above-board set of laws and ordinances that everyone can comply with to avoid special rules and special privileges when each developer comes to P&Z. And I commend them for that. To that end, at our last P&Z meeting, the commissioners unanimously voted to amend Appendix C, 7Q3, Paragraph A, to read, height maximum in CSC, NC, OPD, LI, I, and BP districts may exceed 40 feet in height when the building setback from the nearest property line is equal to the building height. Building or structures that exceed 40 feet in height must not be greater than 70 feet, but not greater than 70 feet shall have a minimum distance to the nearest SFR zoning of at least 2.5 times. This development exceeds 2.5 times. So if someone wanted to hang me for voting for this, and I said, well, you're so close to a single family residential, he's 2.5 times, he's more than 2.5 times the minimum distance, correct? From the building height, distance shall be measured from the building foundation to the single family residential property line. The difficulty we as council now face is timing. Commissioner Sassons, also known as How Soon Sassoon, asked this question. He did ask this question, and what is the earliest this amendment can be received by council? And that would be the first reading in August, as you mentioned, and the second reading in September. This present PUD application meets all of the requirements of the OPD and this newly amended Appendix C 7Q3 Paragraph A. We have to ask ourselves, are we willing to wait and possibly lose this development or approve the PUD and let the developer move forward? I'm in favor of this developer to move forward.
Thanks, Robert. John? Brent, anything?
As you can see, we had zero anybody come up here from the public to be against this, and I think that speaks something.
Steve?
Actually, Robert answered one of my questions, which was the visibility into the nearest subdivision. But I like this development. I think it corrects a lot of things that didn't go well with the original development. It gives us the pond gets fixed up. He's limited it on traffic, and he builds beautiful buildings. And I think this would be an enhancement for the city.
Well, I think this is a great project also. I almost hesitate to say Louis Tanis's name because people will come up to me afterwards and say, you're just approving this because you know the developer. Well, yes, I know the good developers in this town. I'll tell you right now. And I know some of the not so good ones too. So yes, this is a great project, Louis. I appreciate you bringing this. I'm sorry that we couldn't do it quick enough with the height allowance in place, and we're doing a PUD, but that's the answer that we have. That's the trump card we get to play. And sometimes people say, well, you're kind of capricious in how you approve and deny PUDs, but you know, Robert said it all in his soliloquy there, that you know, hey, if it's something good for the city, you know, we're going to approve it, and we want it, and it's good for all the citizens of the city. And if it's something that needs work, we're not going to approve it, and we will continue to work with developers until they get it right. But This one is right. This is the time for it. And so I'll call for the vote. Anybody else? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, 6-1. Thank you all. City Manager's report.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. You heard earlier this evening from Phil Radiso the mention of the veteran parking only sign. Back in May, we had Fidencio, and I apologize, I don't recall his last name, with Operations Honor Our Local Veterans, come before council with a presentation. It's a nonprofit organization that seeking to bring awareness to what our veterans have done for our country and for our community. The program would place veteran-only parking signs at businesses and at city facilities if those entities so choose to have a sign put there. The signs themselves will be donated, but the concern still lies who pays for the materials, the poles, and the installation of those signs. The city is okay with those installations provided council has no concerns. We did a pricing for the materials only of anywhere from $50 to $200. The $50 one is simply putting a pole in the dirt or grass adjacent to where the parking space would be. The $200 installation costs are the ones that already have concrete there, and we'll have to put some other base to hold the sign up, along with a license agreement if it's on private property. Phil earlier today offered to donate, our citizens to donate to have these signs placed. What I suggested to Phil, and I put out there for any citizens that want to help, they're welcome to write a check to the city and designate it specifically for this program, and we will use those funds for their installation. This is not an action item on the part of council, simply a report item to you, but if y'all have any concerns with me moving forward with this, please contact me later. Moving on, it's July. We've had our 4th of July celebration, and we've had our concerts in the park, and we're now moving to movies in the park. This is a program that's put on annually, sponsored in large part by the Rotary Club of Friendswood, along with our Keep Friendswood Beautiful. There are 5 movies that will take place starting this Friday and will last all the way through August 13th. These movies start at dusk, so come out early, pick a place on the hill at the Evelyn Newman Amphitheater at Centennial Park. Bring your family and your snacks and beverages and enjoy a good movie. Some of these movies are scarier than others, so just be mindful of it. If you bring your kid to see Indiana Jones, if they haven't seen some of the special effects back in the 80s, it's a little terrifying for little kids. And just speaking honestly, I'm terrified myself, so that's why I say that. You heard earlier this evening mention of our wonderful police department. The city's was recently received a designation from SafeWise. It's an online publication that ranks cities across the state of Texas based on a number of factors. Friendswood this year was, based on our 2021 statistics, was number 16, moving up 8 spaces. I haven't verified this, but I think we're the second city of a population of 25,000 or more. Obviously, this is in large part due to our wonderful police department and what they do for our community. We appreciate their service, and thanks again as always. Lastly, and I will try to be brief, as you know, our legislature recently ended their regular session and started a special session. There were a number of bills that were brought up and passed, some taking effect immediately and others that will take effect this in September. Just a few items of note. House Bill 988 established a misdemeanor for any city official engaging with the tax chief appraiser and influencing the valuation of properties. We don't do that anyway, but I just want you all to be mindful of that. House Bill 738, the city of Friendswood, along with any other jurisdiction, has to have building codes that are 2012 or newer. Ours are 2018, but if you fail to do so, then we'd be in violation of state law. House Bill 2404 establishes a statewide database for economic incentive programs that are funded through the Chapter 380 of the Local Government Code. This would take in effect any agreements that haven't been fulfilled starting September 2021. All of our current 380 agreements have already since been completed. Any future ones that the city enters into, we have to submit a copy of that to the state to maintain in their database. The next 2 House bills, 692 and 1476, have to do with contracts for public works and goods and services and retainage and addressing service disputes and thereof. Moving on to the next slide. Senate Bill 598, you've heard quite a bit about election law and some reform that's currently being discussed. There was a Senate Bill 598 that passed that requires that any election machine have the capability of being audited. As you know, the city of Friendswood does not own any election equipment. We contract with Harris and Galveston counties, but they would have to upgrade their system, and likely they will pass that cost on to any entity that contracts with them for election services. House Bill 1118 was discussed previously when y'all certified our cybersecurity. The city is nearing 100% completion, and we'll have that achieved later this month. Senate Bill 790 related to ambulance balance billing. This is a program that the state is now allowing us not having to go after private pay if insurance doesn't cover those EMS rides. House Bill 2730 is doing a reform to eminent domain and requiring some additional notifications and due process in order to pursue eminent domain. The city will be in compliance, but just wanted y'all to be mindful of those changes as it will impact our projects moving forward. And lastly, Senate Bill 1359 requires that we provide some sort of mental health leave for our law enforcement officers. Obviously, they're exposed to quite a bit of traumatic events when in their duty of in the provision of their duties. So just wanted y'all to be mindful of that. If you have any questions, let me know. Dozen warnings, as well as citations for fire hydrant and parking lane violations. It's not anything we like to do. We don't like to issue citations, but as you know, there's quite a bit that goes on those evenings. And if you get complaints that we don't respond, I can assure you that we do, and our fire marshal's office was probably called a number of names that evening as well. Lastly, later this month, also related to our fire marshal's office, there will be a severe weather open house at the library on July 22nd that's open to the public. Anybody that's interested in learning about severe weather and emergency operations is welcome to attend. It's at the library from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, down to business items. A, discuss and take possible action on RFP 2021-04 city buyout lot mowing.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor? B, discuss and take possible action on RFP 2021-05 city property lawn mowing and maintenance services.
Motion to approve.
Motion is second.
Can I ask a question?
Steve.
Just want to have a question on this one. You know, is there going to be a time where it might be less expensive for us to just mow the grass ourselves, you know, buy the equipment and pay for the staff and do it ourselves?
There will be. We have not hit that threshold. We did have staff go look at the figures on a personnel standpoint as well as equipment, and the cost for personnel alone would be over $500,000 right now. But we are getting pretty close, but we're not quite there yet. Our rule of thumb is we like to outsource everything to the point where it becomes more expensive to do it outsource as opposed to having it in-house. And when we cross that barrier, we'll bring something to y'all.
All in favor? Discuss and take possible action on RFP 2021-09 regarding emergency medical services billing and collections.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor? Discuss and take possible action on RFP 2021-13 for disaster food services.
Motion to approve.
All in favor? Discuss and take possible action on change order request for the 2019-2020 street maintenance project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Good presentation, Hill. Discuss and take possible action on a change order request for the 2020-2021 concrete street maintenance program.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Just a quick question, Mo. What is the 3/8 cents running up now?
So roughly 1.8, a little over 1.8, almost 1.9 million a year.
Okay, so we're definitely doing well there.
That's correct. And we originally started the project when we were laying this all out based on the idea that we would be seeing 1.6, 1.7 million. So we're healthy there.
Thanks, Hill.
G, discuss and take possible action on an interlocal regional waste disposal facilities contract for the Black Hawk wastewater treatment facility.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? It's good to see former council member Chris Peden here, on the board of directors at Gulf Coast Authority. Thanks for stopping by, Chris. Sorry we couldn't get this item a little quicker for you.
Yeah, Mayor, and I also want to thank you. We represent over 50 cities, and you're the only member of council or mayor who's ever attended one of our meetings, and you do it every month, and I do appreciate it personally. Thank you.
Well, you know, we have these liaison assignments, you know, up here. And I am the primary liaison to only one thing, and that is Gulf Coast Authority. So I feel like it's the least I can do is to show up for your meetings. The rest of these people have like 4, 5, 6. I don't know how many liaison assignments there are, but I don't give myself very many.
Thank you.
But it's a pleasure. H, discuss and take possible action on executing a 3-year lease purchase contract for the purchase of computer production server equipment.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Last month, Councilman Rocky, I think, had a really good question. He was talking about lag time and lead time. And I'm just wondering, how much time is there between when we approve this and when we actually get constructed? And then they said it was going to, I think, take 12 months to 18 months to complete the 14,000. Is that what I heard?
You're referring to the automated meters. So
what are
the
we
next
on?
item. So we're on the item H.
Would you please keep up?
No.
Okay.
And it's my fault.
Like I said,
Yeah, that's automated, isn't it, though?
We're on H.
all in favor?
Okay.
All right.
Now,
Stand by.
okay, get you a motion and a second.
Discuss and take possible action on approving a contract with Amoresco for automated water meters.
Second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion.
All right, now back to that question. I think Rocky had a really good question. What is going to happen when we have a subdivision like Georgetown that's coming in, and some of these that are brand new subdivisions, they're buying brand spanking new meters. What's our priority to try to get those meters automated first so they don't have to buy meters twice?
Provided we can meet the lead time, our priority is to get them the newer meters up front so that they're not having to switch and pay for it twice. So there will be a period of time between when this contract is executed and when the meters are available, that those constructions, to allow them to continue, are going to have to use the old technology.
Okay.
But we will try to minimize that as much as possible.
Well, I just hate to see them having to buy brand new meters, and then we go right behind them and replace them with
Correct.
automated meters.
Steve.
I may be confused on something here.
Yes, sir.
I know that when we saw a presentation about the data and all that, and now we have a contract, but do we actually put this out for bid?
So the government code that was used to procure these services included a competitive bidding process, sort of like a buy board type approach. So these were already bid collectively for certain prices, to where this is not something that the city of Friendswood by ourselves are putting out for our bid. This was already done through cooperative purchasing.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Try me again.
So it's co-op, sort of like when we're members of the HGAC buy board. So when we go out and y'all authorize us to purchase a new vehicle or purchase a piece of equipment, that's already previously bid by HGAC for the entire region, and we can go pick based on their vendors who we select because they've already gone through the public bidding process.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so I expressed some concern at the last meeting on the payback time frame.
Yes, sir.
Right, so we've been using the same meters for the history of water metering in the community, and we're now going to upgrade to a different system that's newer and better, and it's so much better that it's going to take 10 years to pay for itself. And my guess is that in that 10-year window, something else will come out that will be better, and then something else will come out that's better, and then we're just going to continually start chasing this ball down the road when we've done nothing.
So
and the best we can do is a 10-year payback.
So the reality is the payback's likely going to be far better. As you know, there's no profit margins built into our services. Everything is a balanced budget. So the cost of these goods and services, the margins are very, very thin. The alternative or the issue that the city has is that we're currently losing water that's going unbilled. And unfortunately, we're having to do rate increases, and folks that their meters are reading accurately are subsidizing folks that their meters are not reading accurately. And to not correct the situation is doing a disservice to our ratepayers collectively.
agree with you 100%.
We looked at, I had staff look at from last meeting till this meeting, what it would cost to go replace the meters with what we currently have, not going to the new technology. And a one-time update of all of our meters to get them to where they are accurate and correct is going to be about a $5 million endeavor.
More accurate.
However, that $5 million endeavor only guarantees those meters for a 10-year period. So we're going to be back here 10 years from now replacing those same mechanical meters again. The program that we're suggesting that staff is in recommending approval of gives us a 20-year guarantee. So after that 10-year period is over, if those meters no longer are reading accurately when we do an audit, then we get a meter replaced at that location. So this ensures that we have a project that's financially sound for a 20-year period as opposed to one that potentially is losing money again 10 years down the line.
If it was 900,000, I wouldn't have a problem.
I understand. Thankfully,
It's a big bill.
we're not issuing new debt for this.
And it's a long time to pay it off.
Robert?
Mo, to the point that we're not a profit center for these types of expenditures and collection of dollars for the payments of it. Once we become more accurate, like 98.9 or whatever the accuracy is, we're going to be collecting more revenue and actually paying the correct amount of money for the water that we're purchasing for Harris County. There's no reason to believe once we get this figured out to the point of 98.8% or 9% that we couldn't lower the rates for the people in Friendswood because we're actually billing them for the actual amount that they're using. There's a possibility that once we see what we're doing, we can lower the rates because we're not a profit center. We don't retain profits from the sale of water. I think that could be looked at as far as just going against the expense of it.
Correct. And as you see in our monthly financial reports, you have a real-time data update as to what our fund balance above the 90-day reserve is on the water sewer side. And if that's something that council sees that fund continues to grow, we can revisit it and make an adjustment to the rates.
Steve?
Yeah, I want to first I want to comment on John's comment earlier. I have the fortunate to know a little bit about meters. I spent 2 years doing engineering work on meters at one of Shell's plants. Ultrasonic technology's been around since the 70s, and that's the technology you're going to put in here. There's a bunch of other technologies that are really expensive and all that and require way too much power. There isn't really going to be, it's not like a computer where every 5 years it's out of date and you got to update it. This is good, solid technology. It's well known. It's well used. It's well explored. It'll be, when they say it's going to last 20 years, it's going to last 20 years. The other thing I look at this is that, and we had a little bit of a discussion on Saturday about, kicking these projects down the road and just giving ourselves a bigger problem. I can guarantee you my water meter's reading low. It's a mud pit and my house is 40 years old, and I'll guarantee you that when this goes in, I'm going to pay more. But that's fine, that's fair. The other thing, too, that we have going for us is we've got federal government infrastructure money, which is exactly what this, I know there's details, but this is what the federal government wanted to do with this. They wanted cities and towns and all that to upgrade their infrastructure, and that's exactly what we're doing here. So I'm in favor of this for those reasons.
Brent?
I can't remember in the presentation, how will the citizens be trained on how the check balances that are going to be beneficial to them, like the free situation if they had a busted pipe and they didn't know because they're away from their house? How is that going to be relayed on for them to learn how to use this system as it gets going?
So there will be a public campaign process in which we will, through social media, through videos, maybe a Mayor Mike's Minute, through other when we send out utility bills, one-page pamphlet that allows folks to know where to download the app, and then if they have questions on how to use it, obviously to contact us. We are giving citizens the ability to see their information real-time or as close to real-time as possible. They can see their usage go up if they see an abnormality within a day, as opposed to waiting 60 days for their cycle to come in and then find out, oh crap, I've had a leak for the last 60 days. I will also note that we currently contract out meter reading services, and we spend over $140,000 a year for those services, and that's about to go up 60%. And it's becoming harder and harder for us to find vendors out there that will actually manually read meters because that technology is so outdated.
Anybody else? All in favor? Opposed? Discuss and take possible action regarding the acceptance of updates to the city's social media policy.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second.
Just of note, we've had a social media policy for the last 7 years. There has been recent case law with regard. My mic is off. We've had a social media policy in place for close to 7 years, and recent case law has dictated that we do an amendment to ours to make sure that we're in compliance. Just as a reminder, whether you're a private citizen that represents the city of Friendswood in any way, shape, or form, that is archivable information that needs to be recorded. This is intended to protect our employees as well as the community.
All in favor? Discuss and take possible action regarding the appointment of Kitten Brizendine, Robin Hall, James H. Nye, Bill Provenzano, Ron Cox, Judy Wiggins, and Dave Smith to the City of Friendswood 2021 Charter Review Commission for a term beginning July 2021 and ending December 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Discuss and take possible action regarding the appointment of Cindy Deaton to the Construction Board of Adjustment and Appeals for a 3-year term beginning July 2021, ending July 2024.
Motion to approve.
Motion is second. All in favor? Consider the appointment of Michael Fernandez as a regular member to the Zoning Board of Adjustment and complete the unexpired term of Mike Zarowitz, which is set to expire on July 2022.
Second.
All in favor? Discuss and take
Surprise.
discuss and take possible action on the election of a mayor pro tem. Trish.
I would like to make a motion for Robert Griffon to be our next mayor pro tem. And Robert, you did a great job reading that paper I wrote for you tonight. So all that research was great.
Did you get a second?
I did that just for
That
you.
was a joke.
I'll make you a second.
Hey, Mayor, before y'all vote, can y'all explain the program?
I'll be happy to do it.
Go ahead, Steve, please.
Yeah, for those in the audience, several years ago, just to avoid arguments, we came up with kind of a rule of thumb that each year we pick a new mayor pro tem, and our rule is that it's the person on council who is the most senior, who has not done it yet, and if there's two people with the same equivalency, we pick the one that's got the closest election. So, Robert.
Trish said it's the prettiest. Is that right?
I don't recall that. But
Does that mean I
but if
get
that
it
was the
even if
case,
you
I
don't
would've
vote for
won,
me?
you know. So therefore, Robert is the most senior person who hasn't done it yet, and he's up for election next year. So he
And
gets
it was my honor to nominate him. And we have a second.
Thank you, Trish.
All in favor?
Do I vote for myself?
Yes, you vote for yourself.
All right. Item 12 is proposed ordinances, consideration and possible action regarding ordinance number T 2021-19, the first and final reading of an ordinance amending City of Friendswood, Texas, ordinance number 2020-35, passed and approved September 14th, 2020, same being an ordinance approving and adopting the city's general budget for fiscal year 2020-2021 by approving Budget Amendment 9 to the original general budget of the City of Friendswood, Texas for the fiscal year 2020-2021, providing for the supplemental appropriation and/or transfer of certain funds, providing for severability, and providing other matters related to the subject.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Anything noteworthy that you want to talk about on that budget amendment from Rod?
No, sir. We didn't receive any grant funds back this month. The projects that are being funded, there are ones that previously were approved by council. Now we're appropriating the funds to pay for them.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned.